we are really excited to announce the launch of Epsilon Retail Media. And it's really an evolution of our next generation platform, combining the great on-site platform that we have with CitrusAd with all of the new capabilities that we're bringing to retail media from Epsilon.
What are those new capabilities?
Yeah, so the capabilities, I'm glad you asked. So we are the first to really bring person-level identity coupled with AI right at the point of serving an ad, whether that's off of a retailer's site and platform or on their retailer site and platform. And we're connecting those two pieces, retailer on-site and off-site, with person-level identity and AI.
So what are the core components of CitrusAd that make it sort of an integral part of the retail media offering?
Yeah, sure. So CitrusAd itself was founded as an on-site vehicle, and Epsilon, we acquired them in mid-2021. And at that point, within 9 months, unified that platform to have a unified on and off-site offering to the marketplace. And so that's been sort of where we started, with the acquisition of CitrusAd. And now we've evolved a whole lot, bringing to the table a lot of capabilities from Epsilon, continuing to invest in the platform, and bring some new capabilities like person-based identity, which we'll talk a little bit about. I'd like to jump into that.
Yeah.
And then AI, right at the point of ad serving.
So identity is huge in the industry, particularly as we're dealing with like cookie deprecation, but also in terms of trying to find your audience.
That's right.
Can you drill down into what the identity capabilities of Epsilon Retail Media are?
Absolutely. So, a lot of people will talk about the fact that they have they're future-proof or cookie-proof in terms of identity. But you have to really peel that back, and that's where we're different. So when I talk about person-level identity, really what that boils down to is being able to look at all of those different identity or signals that you might have. So think of how many emails do you have? How many devices are you on? Those are all digital IDs that you may have 5, 6, 7, 8 for one person. What we do is we actually resolve all of that down to one individual by name and address, and then verify that by transactions. And so when we talk about person-level identity, it really solves a lot of the industry's problems when you think about the potential of potentially hitting the same person with 5 or 6 ads, thinking that you've hit 5 or 6 different people. So that's why person-level identity is so important.
It's the thing with everything from frequency capping to ensuring that your media is actually performing effectively.
Absolutely. So if you take that all the way through to the experience of the consumer, which we're really here to do is help retailers get the most out of their data and help advertisers really realize the outcomes they're looking for when they work with retailers and retail media. That's our job, make it better. And when you think about all the way through from targeting and the customer experience, managing frequency is really important so we're not over messaging. In other cases, we might not be reaching people that actually do care about a product because we can't identify them in the industry. We solve for that. And you take that all the way through to measurement. If you aren't accurately reaching individuals and able to track that back to the transactions at retail, which retail media can do, but if you can't do that because of bad identity, the measurement's wrong too.
So it's almost like having this, in the industry we talk about this single source of truth and trying to get to that,
Yep.
But it's almost like the identity that's provided in the platform is going to serve as that.
Yeah, so we talk about it as one view of the customer across all their channels and interactions, right? And the vision to be able to know where they are at that point, serve them the content that's meaningful to them, and then be all in one voice, right? And then be able to measure that transaction back. So it all really does center on truly one view of the customer, and what solves that is person-level identity.
You also mentioned AI, which is one of the buzzwords. Can you tell me more specifically, though, how does AI factor into the new platform?
Yes, absolutely, and you're right. AI is a big buzzword in the industry. You hear a lot of people talking about it, but what we're doing is taking an AI capability that's been at Epsilon. It's predictive AI, machine learning, and we're putting that's right at the point of serving the ad and bringing that to retail media. And again, the purpose of that is to help make the retailer data and the promise of retail media stronger. And so what our AI really does is it understands based on history and the data we have tied to that individual, as well as real-time signals. what are they browsing for? What are they reading? What are they watching? That would indicate that they're ready to buy a certain product and they're in market for that. So our AI is optimizing and making decisions on, what ad to serve, where to serve it, real time. And that really is a lot different than how a lot of people in our industries, think about optimizing today. We're doing it manually in the industry. We're doing it through AI, real time, in an automated way.
So there are a lot of things we talked about, a lot of elements of this announcement. What do you think is the biggest challenge that Epsilon Retail Media is going to be able to solve for advertisers?
There's a lot of challenges. There is a lot of challenges that we can unpack here. I would say there's one other thing I would say about, we're talking a lot about person level identity and the AI, and obviously a lot of people, where their minds go immediately is reaching them outside of retailer platforms. Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely, it's super important, but what we're also doing, a big part of our announcement is we're actually able to do that on site, on the retailer platforms, by connecting through one identity, both on and on retail platforms and off retail platforms. What that enables is a better experience and the ability to personalize messages throughout the journey. So that's a big part of what we can do as well.
So connecting that online to offline experience.
Exactly.
With one kind of seamless.
Yeah, so that's really on the measurement side too, is being able to understand whether you reach them off of a retail site or on the retailer site, and then being able to measure, did they buy that product online or in store? And so the unified attribution that we have is part of that equation as well.
So my last question would be, is there anything that in particular that you're looking forward to coming down the pike over the next 12 months?
Yeah, so you asked the question about the problems that this is solving. I want to break some of those down,
Sure.
Tameka, if that's okay. Because when you think about what we're dealing with in the industry, we've touched on a few of them. We think about fragmentation, which means, in our industry, we've got a lot of providers that do certain parts of the ecosystem when it comes to ad delivery. What happens there is the experience can get broken down, meaning, when you start onboarding your data, the people that you want to reach through multiple platforms, each point of that handoff, you start losing the fidelity of that data. The identity of those consumers starts dropping off, and then you have a worse experience. So our solution, being end-to-end based on person level, will solve for that. That's one big problem. When you think about, also I touched a little bit on how our AI works. In our industry today, the way a lot of companies are working is they're building segments, they're pushing those segments out and then serving ads. And if you really think about it, in any given segment, there's going to be people in there that aren't interested in your product at that time, but you're going to serve them an ad anyway. Our AI will look at each unique individual and solve that problem, so you're not serving ads to people that don't care. The flip side of that is there's going to be people not in your segment that are interested in your products, and we're looking at those folks too. So our AI on that, based on that identity, is really looking for every individual in your customer file, if you will, or the people you're trying to get that are interested in your product. So that's a big problem we're solving too, in terms of, if you think about it, whether it's better performance, better consumer experience, or reducing media waste.
So solving three big problems, actually.
Three big problems, absolutely.
Thank you so much, Dave.
Yeah, you bet.